Hey, numerologist community, and welcome back to another episode of this full and new moon series that I do on a bi-monthly basis with Kelli Fox. Hey, Kelli,
Hi, Rose.
how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
That's good. So we've just come off the back of a super romantic new moon in Pisces, and now we're going into a full moon in Libra on the 28th of March. So what does this one have in store for us?
Another big time for romance. I know. So it looks like March is the most romantic month of 2021. Now, we had the new moon in Pisces, March 13th, as the most romantic day of the year. But this is pretty good for romance as well, but in a very different way to the new moon in Pisces. And I'd like to show you what I'm talking about. And so I'll take a step back and explain what a full moon is and why this is also romantic, but in a very different way. So full moon is the sun and the moon opposite. So the moon is in Libra and the sun is in Aries. So the moon in Libra, Libra is the sign of relationship. Libra is a sign of relationship, partnership, marriage. Typically it's romantic, but it can also be business partnership. And so that's the energy of this moon. When it's a full moon, it's highlighted. It's like a giant flashlight in the sky illuminating something. The opposite side of that is the sun in Aries. So it's very much about the individual. Aries, sun in Aries is about independence and freedom. It's about being solo. So, and the full moon in Libra is about relationships and partnerships. So it's finding that compromise between the two. So that's what this full moon in Libra will be about. We might find that if we're in a relationship, we might find our partner to be too clingy or too joined at the hip too much. So it's about, getting the needs of everybody met and finding that win-win solution. Now, what makes this full moon romantic is love planet Venus is right next to the sun in Aries at exactly the same degree. Now, what's also there is Chiron, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But Venus comes together exactly with the sun opposite the moon as part of the full moon. Now, the full moon in Libra's ruling planet is Venus, planet of love. So we've got this unusual sort of contradiction. So on one hand, we've got this romantic full moon in Libra, but it's at odds, or it's standing opposite its ruling planet, which is in its opposite sign. So there's a bit of a contradiction with regards to, even though things might seem okay and they're flowing along, there's something that doesn't quite fit, or there's something that's at odds, or there's something that's opposite or opposed to us. Now, Chiron is involved with this full moon, and it sits between the sun and Venus. And Chiron, it's not an asteroid and it's not a planet. So I call it a planetoid, just for the
I
sake
love that.
of like ease, because it doesn't really have a proper classification. A lot of astrologers put it into the definition of asteroid, but it's not quite that either. So with Chiron involved with the full moon between the sun and Venus, Chiron is the wounded healer. So basically it's a time when, with this full moon, that we can heal old relationship wounds. So that's the message that comes across here with this full moon. It's like, even though it's things in our relationship, our closest relationships might not be smooth sailing, or they might appear to be in one way, but really when we dig beneath the surface, there's stuff that we need to deal with. So this is a time to let go of the relationship baggage that we've been carrying around. And then we see that there's another configuration here called a T-square. So basically we've got the sun and moon and Venus and Chiron all opposite each other, but then, not a T-square, it's a trine. It's a trine to the moon and a sextile to the to the sun. So what that means is that we can talk through, because Mars in Gemini, very close, like basically on top of the North Node, to heal those relationship wounds we've been carrying around probably for so long. It's all about communicating and talking. That's really what the key here is. I mean, it always is anyway, but it's like having those conversations will really take us far at this time, those hard conversations. And what anchors that down is this trine to Saturn in Aquarius to the Mars. So basically, if we can, and Saturn being in Aquarius means think differently or think for alternative solutions to having those hard conversations that can help us find the compromise and heal these old relationship wounds, is really the message here about this full moon in Libra and how the focus is on relationships. Now, just going through real quick for the signs. If you're in a fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sag, then this, particularly Aries, you'll be called upon to deal with these things that you've been carrying around so you can release them and have a better relationship, not just with those you're closest to, but an internal relationship, because Aries is the sign of self. The other fire signs, absolutely same applies, not as intensely. And if you are an air sign, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, this is a time where the air signs are very intellectual, like to rationalize the emotions. This is a time where the air signs will be called to sort of find that balance between heart and mind together, not using one or the other. But there's this groundedness with particularly Saturn, but also Jupiter in an air sign. So in other words, we can feel with our head and think with our heart. Did that make sense?
It did.
Okay, good. So that's really what it is for the air signs. And then the water signs, there's this really sweet conjunction between Mercury and Neptune for the water signs. So there's a very strong, boosted intuition or psychic ability at this time. So, it won't be hard for the water signs to find that compromise, with this full moon in Libra. And then the earth signs, of course, with the earth signs, it's very much about the groundedness of the earth signs, the practicality and the stability, because full moons can really throw us around. They bring a lot of times chaos, or they wreak havoc, and there's always a lot of intensity around full moons every month, when the moon opposes the sun. But for the grounded earth signs, there's only, Pluto right now in an earth sign at the very end of an earth sign. So the earth signs are not really thrown around a lot like, like they could be. We've got Uranus also in Taurus, but, really what it's teaching us is to be flexible and adaptable as much as we can, and to always, for all the signs, to find that win-win situation or compromise.
Awesome. Well, again, it's a good month for all the signs, it looks, but especially the water signs. I don't know if I'm biased because I take note of the water signs a little bit more. But thanks, Kelli. That sounds like an awesome full moon ahead. And next time we'll be talking about the new moon in Aries, which is on the 11th of April. And again, I've got another family member who's having a solar return then as well, which is crazy. The last 3 months has been solar return time.
Nice, very nice.
Excellent. All right, thanks, Kelli. Until next time.
Thanks,
See you
Rose.
later.
Bye.